Dante was an ordinary teacher living a quiet, simple life until the day everything changed. Without warning, he was taken to a strange place called Fogland, a land shrouded in mystery where blue mist rolls endlessly and danger hides in every corner. There, people whisper of glowing orbs said to grant power and madness. When one of those orbs lands near him, Dante's world begins to spiral out of control. Amid the chaos of prisoners, strange guards, and a masked man with a single glowing eye, Dante realizes this isn't just a prison, it's an experiment. Each person trapped in Fogland seems drawn by something different: power, revenge, or the faint hope of escape. But as the fog thickens, reality itself starts to twist. Now Dante must fight to stay alive and uncover why he was brought here in the first place. Because in Fogland, truth is a weapon, and survival means facing what lies beyond the mist. Every choice he makes pulls him deeper into the nightmare, where even allies can turn into monsters. And in a world where nothing is real, Dante will learn that the greatest enemy may be the one hiding inside himself. Armored trucks rolled through empty land that looked like nobody had lived there for ages. Dust kicked up behind them as they drove on, the place around them quiet and abandoned. Inside, a bunch of regular guys, all dressed pretty sharp, sit together without saying a word. The silence hangs between them, heavy enough that everyone notices it, but nobody wants to be the first to break it. As the group steps inside, one of the guards speaks up, making sure everyone knows what's expected of them from the start. The group gets a heads up to watch themselves around the prisoners and not do anything that might get them into trouble. Always Uppy looked around and realized things were getting a bit awkward. She figured someone had to do something, so she took the lead and tried to lighten the mood for everyone. She walks up and says her name to Dante. He just stands there, face calm and serious, not giving away much. Both of them ended up being science teachers, which was kind of a weird coincidence. More people start showing up, even the ethics teacher everyone has to take. Not much of a surprise there. The air finally relaxes once the teachers start talking and learning about each other. But one guy doesn't look happy at all. He just sits there, staring, trying to figure out how things got this messed up. Turns out they're heading to, which is basically the biggest prison on the planet. People call it hell, and honestly that name fits. Tries to brush it off, acting like everything's fine. He wonders what could actually happen in a place like prison. The teacher didn't look convinced at all. He stared at them with a serious face, clearly not buying their story. Then he asked if any of them actually knew where the prison came from, still doubting everything. He starts telling the story about a huge meteorite that crashed into this place 50 years ago. 5 years slipped by since that disaster, and then out of nowhere, things started to shift. All the big countries came together and built a huge prison right above the spot where everything went down. The others start getting hyped, thinking about all those stories they've seen online about aliens and weird creatures. The grim teacher went on, saying that someone once claimed had actually opened the gates of hell. One of the guys lets out a little smirk, clearly thinking that these new students could end up being real monsters. Even Dante, who hardly ever lets his feelings show, can't help but smile a little at the crazy idea. One teacher rolled his eyes at the idea, clearly doubting if anyone actually believed it. Dante doesn't back down. He stands his ground because he thinks everyone deserves a shot at learning. His coworker kept pushing him, making sure he didn't forget that these were some of the most dangerous people out there. Dante didn't really see them as monsters. To him, they were just regular people who hadn't had the chance to learn any better. The other teachers just sighed to themselves, thinking the kid still has a lot to learn about how the world really works. Out of nowhere, a guard interrupts, letting everyone know they're only 5 minutes away from. Who's usually all smiles just stands there now completely still. It's like everything good just got yanked away, and all she can do is stare, scared out of her mind. The first gate creaked open, and the teachers didn't look happy at all. Their faces showed just how nervous they were, like they already knew something bad was about to happen. Dante usually keeps it together, but as they get closer to where they're headed, he starts to look a little uneasy. It's clear this place is making even him second-guess himself. It's the biggest and toughest prison in the world. Dante stands at the entrance, nerves tight but determined. He reminds himself why he's here, to teach the guys locked up inside. As they walked in, a bright and cheerful banner hung overhead, greeting them at their new job. It looked like someone really went all out to make the place feel welcoming, not what most people would expect on their first day at work. Nobody was allowed to take any pictures, and everyone had to hand over their stuff before going in. As the fog rolled in and started to cover everything, the guys slowly realized why the prison had its name. The thick mist made it almost impossible to see, and it clicked for them. This place was called that for a reason. You can barely see anything ahead. The whole prison is swallowed up by thick fog, and the buildings have pretty much vanished into the gray. He finally gets why everyone calls this place. As the group moves along, someone points out that they're on their way to Gate 2. The guard, loaded up with gear and looking super serious, steps forward and explains what everyone needs to do next to stay safe. They keep telling themselves this is just some lame attempt to freak them out. Deep down, though, they're not totally buying it. With guards on both sides, they walked further into the prison while the staff stood by, letting them pass. He steps forward, crossing over into a place he's never been before. Dante keeps telling himself it's all cool, that he shouldn't be scared. He tries to push down the nerves, acting like nothing's wrong, even though his hands won't stop fidgeting. He looks around and tells himself this is just another spot where people call home. Their classroom looks more like a plain white box, the kind you see behind a big glass window. Dante hangs out at his spot, staring at the weird setup in front of him. He can't figure out what's going on, and it just leaves him confused. Another teacher walks in and sees right away that this is one of those isolation classrooms. He thinks it's way over the top. He taps on the tough glass, wondering how anyone's supposed to teach like this. He jumps a little when a guard suddenly shows up by the big, heavy door. The announcement goes out, letting everyone know it's time. The prisoners are about to come in. Nobody moved. The order was clear. Everyone had to stay put, no matter what happened next. The room felt colder, and every guy could sense that things were about to get a lot more intense. Dante stands still for a moment, his throat tight as everything that's happening finally hits him. The steel door creaked loudly as it opened, the locks clicking out of place with one last, solid thump. The door creaked open, letting everyone see the bright, spotless classroom waiting on the other side. The students walked in, chained together. They looked tired and scared, almost like something out of a bad dream. Dante's confidence crumbled all at once. One of the prisoners stands out from the rest. His eyes light up in an eerie way, and his face looks all twisted. He leans right up against the glass, staring out. Another one comes after, staring so hard it almost feels like it's looking right through him. A huge guy stands there, grinning when he spots someone familiar across from him. He wonders if these people are actually human, while a guard pushes him down into a chair. Dante's thoughts spin as he tries to make sense of what he's seeing. He stands there, unsure of how anyone's supposed to teach things like this. Dante couldn't stop replaying the teacher's warning in his head. The words stuck with him, sharper and clearer than before, making him uneasy as he tried to focus on anything else. He tries to brush it off, telling himself it's probably nothing and hoping it'll just go away. He suddenly remembered how naive he'd been. Of course, people actually lived here. After that, he made his usual point, saying the only thing missing was better education. Dante takes a deep breath, straightens his tie, and stands up in front of everyone. He's a little tense, but he manages to pull himself together and lets the class know who he is. He goes with a classic icebreaker to kick things off, just like anyone would expect. He looks at his new class and wonders why everyone keeps saying science is the coolest subject. Dante laughs and jokes around, teasing that maybe they're planning to build a rocket so they can just blast off and leave everything behind. He tries to crack a joke, but nobody laughs. The room just gets quiet and weird, and he can tell it didn't land. One of the creatures suddenly starts laughing in a wild, creepy way. The creature notices how tense the room feels and finds it pretty funny. He starts laughing, and his laughter bounces around, making the place feel even weirder. Dante doesn't let it get to him. He just switches gears, figuring it's better to kick things off with something easier and more interesting. He shows everyone his first lesson by grabbing this weird-looking plant and holding it up. It's all about getting outside and connecting with nature, and he seems pretty into it. He tells the prisoners to check out the stuff that's now on their desks. Everyone in the room got handed a glass of water, and inside each glass, there was just one sweet potato sitting at the bottom. He wants to show them how to grow a plant. It's a simple lesson, something he thinks even kids can get into. He thinks these tough guys probably never got to learn basic stuff like that. It might look like a small thing, but he really hopes that seeing it grow will inspire them in some way. Taking care of a tiny plant, they could start to get what it really means to look after something alive. He meets their eyes, thinking about everything that happened before, but it's clear he wants them to pay attention and learn something now. He looks at them and thinks about sweet potatoes, which to him mean endless possibilities. Dante looked excited as he let everyone know they'd be working on their first group project together. His words just hang in the air. Everyone goes quiet, not really sure what to say or how to react. The room gets awkward for a second, like nobody expected that at all. One of the prisoners suddenly gets really angry, clearly taking the comparison way too personally. His reaction makes it obvious he's not happy being put in the same group as the others. Dante starts trying to explain himself, but the words just won't come out right. He looks pretty stressed, stumbling over what he's saying, and nothing sounds like he means it to. The prisoner just grabs the lesson plan and starts eating it. He just stands there completely stunned by what's happening. He doesn't even know what to say. Pretty soon, everyone in the class is all in, grabbing pieces of their science projects and eating them up with big grins. He freaks out, realizing they were meant to grow the stuff, not chow down on it. Dante drops to the ground, totally worn out, his mind racing as he tries to figure out what's up with these students. He almost lets go and turns away, but then someone calls out from across the room. The masked prisoner steps in, stopping him mid-sentence. He wants answers right away and pushes to find out how to make fog. Dante stands there, not sure what to do, running the weird request through his head again and again. He tries to change the subject, steering their conversation toward the prison's well-known fog. The prisoner just tunes out the scientist, not caring at all about the weather talk or any of the teasing. The guy tries to set things straight, still convinced that all of this is just some screwed-up joke about breaking out. He watches, confused, but then a fist suddenly hammers against the tough glass in front of him. Blue sparks started flickering right where it hit, lighting up the spot with this weird glow. The masked prisoner's eyes lit up with that strange power again, and the barrier looked like it was about to break. Dante completely loses it. All that calm he was holding onto just snaps, and he ends up screaming, totally freaked out. The masked prisoner stares at Dante, his voice icy and serious. He looks like he doesn't believe Dante's taking things seriously, almost like he's calling him out for thinking this is just some kind of joke. Dante yelled into his headset, trying to let everyone know about the breach that just happened. He couldn't believe what he was seeing, and his hands shook as he tried to get the words out. He stares at the shattered glass, completely thrown off. How could something that strong just break like that? It doesn't make sense, and his mind keeps running through possible reasons, but nothing adds up. He barely has time to react when the door to the teacher's room suddenly swings open. Suddenly, a voice crackled through the speakers, calling out a code Omega. Right after that, guards burst into the room, moving fast and looking serious. A whole squad of armed guys rushed into the observation room, guns up and ready, checking every corner like they were expecting trouble. The commander locked eyes with Dante, signaling for him to drop down. Right after, the commander gave an order that sent a cold jolt through the air. He wanted every prisoner gone. The guards didn't stop to think. They started shooting right through the glass, bullets ripping through the classroom and wrecking everything inside. Suddenly, bullets start flying everywhere. The calm mood is gone in an instant, replaced by chaos and fear. What started as a normal lesson quickly turns into a fight for survival. Dante grabs his head, his whole body tense as everything around him suddenly goes off the rails. The world turns wild in an instant, like someone flipped a switch, and chaos just exploded everywhere. The bullets tear straight through the reinforced glass, smashing it to pieces like it's nothing. He slams his body into the door, doing everything he can to keep what's happening inside from getting any worse. The commander keeps his voice steady, and almost too calm as he tells him to stay put until everything is over. Dante stands frozen, his mind racing as he tries to understand how anyone could do something like this. All around him, the reality of what happened starts to sink in. He looks at the lifeless bodies, struggling to wrap his head around the fact that someone actually went this far. It doesn't make sense to him, and he just keeps replaying the scene in his head, searching for answers that aren't there. The guard follows orders without hesitation, carrying them out right in front of everyone. Meanwhile, the commander stands by, trying to explain why things had to get rough. One prisoner, the one with the tag 901, just grinned and reached out, grabbing the gun barrel like he wasn't scared at all. He just stands there, frozen. Everything he believed in is gone now, and all he can do is watch as fear takes over. The prisoner snaps, lashing out fast and hard. The guard barely has time to react before it's over, blood splattering across the room. While chaos raged all around, a steady voice came through the comms, breaking up the madness. The guy behind it sounded cool and collected, totally unfazed by what was happening. It was clear he was about to make his entrance, ready to show everyone who he was. The voice lets him know that he's the guy in charge of this awful place. He lets Dante know, without freaking out, that these monsters are actually living next door now. Dante just froze, barely able to breathe. The news hit him so hard that his thoughts scattered, leaving him completely stunned. In the middle of all the chaos, the masked prisoner just sits at his desk, totally calm. The reality of hits him all at once, and he's just stunned. It's a lot to take in, and he can't really process what's happening. He stands there, holding a sweet potato, looking strangely calm in a place where everything else feels off and heavy. Dante drops down and sits on the floor, totally drained. All that energy he had to keep going just isn't there anymore. Prisoner 182 stood there, his face mostly hidden by a mask. From behind it, one glowing eye stared out, sharp and unblinking. The scene moves to a dark concrete room, where a single fan buzzes in the background. Dante is sprawled out on the floor, totally wiped out after his first day. He's not by himself. Someone else is there too, crouched in the dark, wearing an orange jumpsuit. Dante woke up slowly, his mind replaying everything that happened on his first day. The memories were still sharp, sticking with him as he tried to face a new morning. He squinted, trying to see through the darkness. After a moment, he could finally make out the shape of the guy across the room, the person he'd have to share this place with, whether he liked it or not. He sits up and notices he's stuck in a cell with one of the monsters he was supposed to be teaching. The masked prisoner stood there, his one glowing eye locked right on the teacher, who looked like he wanted to disappear. Dante's head spins as he tries to wrap his mind around what just happened. It's like his brain just glitched, and now he can't really believe what he's seeing. Everything feels off, and he's stuck there, trying to make sense of it all. He finally works up the nerve to figure out who the silent guy is. He tries to speak, but his voice just trips over itself. Panic takes over, and all that comes out is a jumble. Dante stepped into his new place, taking it all in. The place was all right, but he noticed right away that the bathroom didn't have any walls or doors, just wide open for everyone to see. It was weird, but he figured he'd have to get used to it. The heavy steel door shuts behind him, making it clear that things have changed. He's not just some teacher anymore. This place is different now, and so is his role. Dante wakes up in a strange room, his heart racing as he tries to figure out what's going on. He looks around, confused and uneasy, trying to get his bearings. Across from him, his cellmate sits quietly, not bothered at all. While Dante tries to pull himself together, the other guy just tells him they're at his house, like it's no big deal. Dante hears the weird response and just freezes for a second, totally thrown off. His head starts spinning with questions, and now, more than anything, he just wants to figure out what's really going on. He looks at prisoner 182, and it finally hits him how serious things are. He thinks back, trying to piece together how everything got so out of control and led him to this moment. He can still picture the guard's last command, the one that sealed everything, telling the others to shoot at the inmates. That moment sticks with him, heavy and impossible to forget. The plan totally fell apart when the guards got taken down way faster than anyone expected. The classroom was wrecked, desks were flipped, books scattered everywhere, and the whole place looked nothing like it did before. The inmates had taken control, leaving the students and teachers stunned by how fast everything changed. Dante stood frozen in the darkness, heart pounding in his chest. Fear crawled up his spine, making it hard to breathe. Everything around him seemed to close in, and before he knew it, his legs gave out. The last thing he remembered was hitting the cold ground as the world faded away. Back in the dirty cell, his strange cellmate moves around quietly, acting way too calm for the situation. The teacher looks straight at the prisoner, wondering if this place was actually a prison. Meanwhile, Dante turned to his cellmate, on edge and wanting answers. He needed to find out if the guy next to him was the one behind all this. He suddenly realizes the truth. The prisoner is the one who led him here. The creature only cares about one thing right now, the sweet potato from class. You can see it all over his face. He looks totally lost, like he just walked into a room and forgot why he was there. The masked man's request turns out to be surprisingly straightforward. He just wants to learn how to make it grow. Dante just stands there, totally caught off guard when the monster suddenly asks him to teach it about gardening. He doesn't know what to say or do, just staring at the creature, trying to process what's even happening right now. He thinks back to what he used to say, realizing he once thought their actions were just clueless mistakes. Now he gets that his way of thinking didn't have much to stand on. He couldn't wrap his head around what just happened. Everything he believed in suddenly didn't make sense anymore, and for a second, it felt like his whole world got flipped upside down. Dante loses it. He can't believe he's stuck in hell just because of some random root vegetable, and his anger finally boils over. His mind finally gives in, and he has to admit to himself that the ethics teacher had been right the whole time. He's pretty sure these things go after people for no real reason, and now he can't shake the thought that he's probably the next target. He looks over at his cellmate, eyes wide, and spots something tucked away in the guy's hand. His thoughts start spinning, jumping straight to the worst things that could happen. Maybe someone has a gun, a knife, or something else dangerous. Dante's heart starts pounding like crazy. Every muscle in his body tenses up. He knows he can't just stand there, frozen. Even though he's scared out of his mind, he forces himself to do something, anything, before things get worse. He's got nothing holding him back now, so he charges straight at the masked prisoner. The prisoner stumbles backward, and as he does, everyone can see the weapon he'd been hiding the whole time. Dante holds onto his wrist and pushes him down, showing way more strength than anyone would expect. He takes the guy down pretty easily, realizing this opponent isn't anything like the tough monsters he's faced during training at school. He tries to keep his cool, thinking he's got what it takes to deal with this prisoner. He's totally focused now. All he cares about is grabbing the weapon from the prisoner's right hand. As he twists the limb, there's a sudden snap that definitely shouldn't be there. Dante freezes when he sees his whole arm isn't there anymore. It's like time stops for a second, and everything just feels unreal. It takes him a moment to even process what just happened. The arm just slides right back onto its owner like it's no big deal. At this point, it's pretty clear this thing isn't human. The prisoner seemed sorry about what happened, but deep down, he acted like it wasn't all his fault. He calls out how Dante's dumb choices landed him stuck in prison. Honestly, it's true. After everything that happened, the creature was still focused on one thing, figuring out how to grow a sweet potato. Dante's patience finally snapped. He turned away, not interested in wasting any more time trying to teach someone who just didn't get it. He let the prisoner know it was time to look for food somewhere else. He was done with this cell and ready to head out. He stands by the door, looking over the schedule taped up there, trying to make sense of it. None of it seems clear, but he keeps at it, hoping he'll figure out when things actually happen around here. Dante looks through the slot, pretty sure security is out there trying to find him. He looks through to the other side and just stops in his tracks, eyes wide. Whatever's there catches him off guard, and for a second he can't even process what he's looking at. Outside, all he could see was the thick, heavy fog that always hung around the prison, making it impossible to tell what was out there. The view was completely blocked, just endless gray. He grabs the door and shakes it hard, hoping someone will hear him. But no matter how loud he yells, the place stays quiet, like nobody's around to listen. The door lets out a low groan and slowly swings open by itself. Dante stands there, eyes wide, trying to figure out if he's actually seeing what's in front of him. It doesn't add up, and he can't shake the thought that something's off, like maybe someone's messing with him. He He steps out carefully, confused about why a cell in hell would just be open like that. He ends up on a lonely path, concrete walls stretching out around him and thick mist hanging in the air. He starts to realize just how huge his new place is. It's almost too much to take in, and he can't help but feel a little overwhelmed as he looks around. This place isn't just a prison. It stretches on forever, like a whole city built on hopelessness. Every corner feels heavy, making it clear that escape isn't even an option. He just couldn't believe this place was really a prison. His thoughts started spinning out, refusing to accept what was right in front of him. He glances over at his cellmate, confused and a little on edge, trying to figure out where they've ended up. But just as he starts to freak out and tries to get some answers, someone suddenly grabs him and covers his mouth, shutting him up instantly. The masked prisoner shows up behind him, looking pretty fed up with all the noise. His advice hits hard. Basically, you're stuck here, so keep quiet and deal with it. Dante stands at the edge, staring down at the slum that seems to go on forever. He can't help but wonder how people even make it through each day in a place like this. The streets below look rough, packed with tiny shacks and crowded with people just trying to get by. He grabs the prisoner, trying to prove he's just a regular guy following the rules, not some kind of villain. He still thinks he's better than everyone else, acting like he's not part of the crowd he looks down on. That attitude hasn't gone anywhere. While he was talking, a huge, scary beast showed up behind his cellmate, almost like it just appeared out of thin air. The masked prisoner stands there, looking puzzled and kind of upset after hearing what Dante said. The huge guy suddenly stiffens up, his chest rising and falling like he's trying hard not to lose it. Even without saying a word, it's clear he's holding back some serious anger. The thing in the hood leaned over, its eyes shining with an icy glare. It looked down at him, silent and unfriendly, like it was sizing him up. Dante panics, scrambling to explain himself. He didn't mean to insult his cellmate, and now he's desperate to clear things up before it gets worse. The masked prisoner steps right up to him, staring him down and demanding to know what he's staring at. The tension in the air spikes, and it's clear the masked guy isn't messing around. The massive beast gets ready to attack, its arm looking huge, almost as big as Dante's whole body. A fist cuts through the air and smacks hard, leaving a nasty, bloody mark. He hits the ground hard, pain shooting through him as he lies there, beat up and sore. That confidence he had before, gone just like that. The masked prisoner sits quietly on top of Dante, looking completely relaxed. He's already made it clear that Dante needs to stay quiet, and now he just waits, not bothered at all by the situation. He looks down and realizes his own clothes have disappeared, which honestly just leaves him annoyed and kind of confused. It's a weird thing to be upset about right now, but he can't help it. Losing his stuff just makes this whole situation even more frustrating. Dante wakes up, his head pounding, and right away he's yelling at his cellmate. He's frustrated, wondering why anyone would even think about messing with a monster. Dante yells out, pointing out that the monster who attacked him doesn't even have one of its arms. His cellmate glances down, starting to wonder if he might have gone overboard. The prisoner doesn't say anything. He just starts unbuttoning his orange jumpsuit, moving slow and steady like he's done this before. Dante's thoughts spiral fast and panic hits him. He loses control for a second, shouting out apologies, his nerves getting the best of him. He drops the jumpsuit on the floor, tuning out Dante's panicked yelling in the background. The guy just stands there, totally lost, watching as the prisoner suddenly lies down. The prisoner steps forward, showing off his strong build and both arms. He tells Dante to put on the jumpsuit. Dante stares, trying to make sense of what's right in front of him. His thoughts are all over the place, and it's tough for him to believe this is actually happening. He stands there, eyes wide, trying to figure out if what he's seeing is even real. It just looks so off, like someone's messing with him, but he can't find any explanation that makes sense. Dante realizes he needs to watch what he's doing, so he quickly pulls on the orange jumpsuit. He pauses for a second, nervous that the rescue team might not realize who he is since he's wearing prison clothes. His cellmate quickly shuts down any hope he has, making it clear that nobody's coming for him. There was just one rule in this place: don't draw attention to yourself. For their teacher, that was a tough thing to learn. His cellmate digs through a messy pile of garbage and pulls out an old brown uniform, the fabric worn and full of holes. Wearing old, ripped clothes and holding a bag, he got everyone's attention, letting them know it was time for dinner. It kind of felt like he was trying to make things more interesting, almost like he wanted to turn dinner into a bit of entertainment for everyone. Dante takes one look at his cellmate's clothes and just can't get into it. The guy's outfit is nothing special, and Dante's not really having it. Out of nowhere, an idea pops into his head. His eyes get big, and for the first time in a while, he looks like he might have a shot at turning things around. He remembers that when it's time to eat, the guards always show up. This could be his shot to finally tell them what's really going on. Outside, a weird, almost musical humming sound drifted through the empty prison city. The noise echoed down the empty streets, sounding weird and making everything feel off. Somewhere else in the prison, a huge guy messes around with Dante's suit that he swiped earlier. He looks pretty pleased with himself, strutting in front of the others and checking out how he looks. The suit doesn't really fit, but he doesn't seem to care. He just keeps showing off, clearly enjoying the attention. The guy in the hoodie couldn't help but regret not grabbing the teacher's cool glasses too. He listens for a moment, then realizes the weird tune reminds him of honey. Out of nowhere, someone new showed up and wanted to know where the hooded guy got his clothes. The prisoner who had swiped the suit suddenly started screaming, his whole body shaking with fear. He drops to his knees and bows low, showing a lot of respect to the new guy. A guy with a hood let the crew know there's a new kid in their area. The new guy's easy to spot. He's wearing glasses and looks like he probably spends more time with books than outside. The boss looks interested and checks where the new guy is. He stands there, showing off the cool clothes he just grabbed from the new guy, looking pretty pleased with himself. He gets a sword slammed right through his head. For a split second, he has no idea what just happened. The blade sinks in, ending things fast. All this over a bad outfit, pretty harsh. The boss stands over the bodies, making it clear to everyone that he means business. There's no mistaking what he just did. His point has been made, and nobody is about to challenge him now. He stood there, blood on his clothes, looking totally calm. He knew this was it. The person he'd been searching for was right in front of him. He stands there gripping his weapon, the blade stained red. A cold grin slowly creeps onto his face, sending a weird shiver down anyone's spine who sees him like that. With just one word, he makes it clear that he already knows who Dante is. The prisoners headed over to the cafeteria, surrounded by tall, gray walls that felt more like a city than a prison. They lined up, trays in hand, getting ready for another plain meal in the middle of all that concrete. For most of them, this was just another part of the daily routine. Figures hidden in the shadows watched quietly, their bodies blending in so well it was hard to even tell if they were people. Their eyes lock onto every movement, hungry and intense, like they haven't eaten in days. Dante just stands there, frozen, his eyes wide as he tries to figure out what these things around him even are. He feels completely out of place, like he's landed in some kind of nightmare, not sure if he should run or just hope they don't notice him. He trails behind his cellmate, weaving through the packed room. He can't help but wonder if the people around him are really human or something else entirely. Somewhere in this abandoned world, a crow sits quietly, its one eye glowing in the dark as it keeps watch over everything left behind. It sits on top of a dark, creepy statue that really shows what it's all about. Blood splatters covered the ground, and bodies hung from spikes along the walkways. This place wasn't like a normal prison. It felt more like a wild jungle, where the tough guys made the rules and everyone else just tried to keep up. The city stretched out endlessly, wild and out of control. It was the kind of place where rules didn't really matter, and hope was hard to find. Thick mist covered the streets, making everything look even more rundown and mysterious. Dante looked over at his cellmate, barely able to believe what was happening. His hands shook a little, and he felt totally thrown off by the whole situation. He notices how wild everything is, with people doing whatever they want and no guards anywhere to keep things in order. He points toward the bodies, really hoping they're just some kind of holiday props. The guy picks up his guide, trying to figure out how a place run by the UN could turn out this bad. The masked prisoner gave him a look, signaling him to keep it down. He didn't want any trouble, and making too much noise could get them both in serious danger. Dante's thoughts spin as he starts doubting if it was smart to trust this creature in the first place. He thinks back to those creepy glowing eyes he saw in the classroom, and suddenly gets it. His cellmate is one of those people. He feels a hand land on his shoulder, and right then, he knows his worries were real. In this place, there's nobody he can count on. They make it to the chow hall, which honestly looks like it's barely holding together. The place could fall apart any day, and it reminds him more of something out of an old army movie than an actual cafeteria. When it was time to eat, the cafeteria was packed with guys wearing orange jumpsuits everywhere he looked. The inmates sat at their tables, barely making a sound. Everyone just focused on their own food, keeping their heads down. No one wanted to draw attention or start anything, so the whole place felt heavy and serious, like everyone was waiting for something to happen but hoping it wouldn't. Dante freezes for a second. He expected total chaos, but this place actually looks pretty organized. He gets in line, thinking that if people are getting food, someone has to be running the show. Right then, something changes in his eyes, like he suddenly remembers things might turn out okay. He spots a guard's uniform and realizes there's still someone in charge around here, even with all this chaos. A man stood there in a guard's uniform, his face hard to see because of the shadows. Even with everything around him looking wild and out of control, he looked like someone who could keep things steady. Dante's eyes go wide as he starts to relax, thinking help has finally shown up. He tries to keep his cool, reminding himself not to freak out. He wants to look like he's got it together, hoping people can see he doesn't really fit in with the crowd around him. While his cellmate is busy trying to score some extra ham, Dante takes a moment to get his big speech ready. Seems like everyone's got their own thing to worry about. The creature gets sent on its way, and now Dante has to step up and see what happens with the person who might help him. He takes a step forward, looking a bit nervous as he tries to find out if the guy in front of him is actually a guard. The guy's stone-cold face says it all. He's clearly the one in charge, and everyone around can tell without him saying a word. Dante jumps in right away, trying to explain who he is. He tells them his name, Dante, and that he's a teacher. You can tell he's in a rush, hoping they'll believe him. He points at his cellmate, blaming him for the kidnapping during the riot. He quickly tells the guard to get help, sure that people must already be searching for the missing teacher. The officer doesn't say anything back. Instead, a thin line of drool slips from his mouth, and he just sits there totally out of it. Dante's hope drops away, replaced by a heavy, sinking feeling in his chest. The guy in the uniform just stands there, his eyes completely empty, like he's not even really there. It's the kind of stare that makes your skin crawl, like something's seriously wrong with him. Before Dante even has a chance to react, the guard lifts up his serving ladle. He calls out for help, but instead of getting rescued, someone just smacks him and tells him to get going. He gets a tray of stuff that barely looks like food. He slumped down next to his cellmate, who was busy eating and didn't seem to care about anything else. Dante's thoughts spin as he tries to figure out what's going on with the guy's wild stare. He noticed the uniform and the badge. That had to mean the guy was a real guard, right? He looks around the room and notices there are any other officers anywhere. Dante freezes. His stomach drops as he starts to notice that something's off, way off. It's like a chill runs right through him, and he can't shake the uneasy feeling that things just went south fast. The truth slams into him like getting punched in the gut. He's messed up, and there's no way out of this. He looks ahead, and all he can picture is endless days stuck in this place, like there's no way out. He thinks back to what his cellmate said, that nobody would ever show up for him. The words stick in his mind, making him wonder if he's really on his own here. He turns to the masked prisoner, looking desperate, and calls him student. He can't help but grin, looking almost wild, as he remembers what this creature really wants: sweet potatoes. Dante runs out of choices and decides it's time to try his last shot. He decides to show the prisoner all his tips for growing the plant, planning to pass on everything he's learned. The creature gets something in return, but now it's on the hook to help him get out of this nightmare. The guy thinks he's finally found a way out. He's pretty sure the prisoner isn't all that sharp, so he starts coming up with a plan to use that to his advantage. Dante flashes his best grin, pretty confident he's about to win over his new student. Dante tried to play it cool, hoping his cellmate wouldn't catch on, but the guy didn't buy it for a second. He stared straight at Dante, basically telling him that he wasn't fooled and that he wasn't stupid. The tension in the room got heavier, and Dante could feel himself getting caught. Dante steps back, scrambling to get his point across. He really thinks he's got it all figured out, but his explanation isn't landing. The more he talks, the more it just falls apart, and it's obvious things aren't going his way. The prisoner stands there quietly, not saying a word. With the mask covering his face, no one can really tell what's going through his mind. He explains that the only way out is to rise to the top and become the supreme leader of. Dante just keeps repeating the weird title to himself, trying to figure out what it's supposed to mean. He looks confused, eyebrows scrunched, as if hoping it'll make sense if he thinks about it long enough. Dante barely got the words out before his cellmate shut him down right away. The guy looked him over and made it clear he didn't think Dante could handle it here, not even for a single day. Dante suddenly gets it. If he wants to reach anyone outside, this is his only option. The prisoner lifts a piece of food, making it clear that there's only one way forward, either rise to the challenge or get left behind. Dante wanted to know what was really going on, but his cellmate just brushed him off and told him to keep quiet. Dante sits back on his bunk, realizing his cellmate isn't going to lift a finger for him. It hits him that he's on his own here, and any hope he had for backup just fades away. He doesn't bother asking for help anymore, deciding it's better to figure things out himself. He suddenly gets mad, slamming his hand down on the table as he jumps to his feet. He decides that if his cellmate isn't going to step up, he'll just have to figure something out on his own. He tries to play the My Family Matters card, hoping it'll get him out of trouble. Not everyone's buying it, though. It's a risky move. As he walks away, someone behind him suddenly shouts for a teacher, sounding really desperate. He spins around fast, surprised when someone calls out his full name, Mr. There's a bunch of prisoners hanging around by the Chow Hall entrance. He relaxes, shoulders dropping as he looks around. He really thinks the rescue team has finally shown up. His cellmate just sits back and watches while the rest of the guys start yelling at the new arrivals. Dante can't help but grin as he spots the entrance. He takes off running, his heart pounding with excitement. He calls out, hoping the people who saved him will hear and come his way. He yells out his name and what he does, hoping the people standing in the doorway will listen. He's trying to get their attention, hoping someone will help or at least understand why he's there. He can't hold back the tears anymore. They just roll down his cheeks while he breaks down, finally letting go of everything he's been holding inside. After everything he's been through, it actually feels like it's done, like he can breathe again. But then the crowd slowly split, showing that the people coming in were just more prisoners. His hope falls apart the second he spots his old student standing right in front of him. The guy up front flashes a sharp smile at him, the kind that lets you know he means business. Dante's face goes pale as everything around him seems to stop. It's like his whole world just flipped upside down, and for a second he can't even move. The prisoner, who looked way taller than anyone should be, bent down and nodded at him, acting like they'd known each other for ages. He gets a nudge about the sweet potato class like it just happened. That lesson isn't staying in the past, it's making a comeback, whether he wants it or not. Dante just nods, still trying to process everything. His thoughts are all over the place, and he can barely keep up with what's happening. That face stuck in his mind, impossible to forget no matter how hard he tried. Dante thinks back to when he first spotted that huge figure. It was one of those moments that stuck with him, the kind you don't really forget. He remembers just how wide that guy's shoulders were, way broader than anyone he'd seen before. The other guys in the cell watch him and start whispering to each other. They call him Shoulder, clearly impressed by his presence. Dante spots one of those guys everyone talks about, the Sick Shoulders. Turns out, this prison has its own student council running things behind the scenes. The prisoner called the tower stared at everyone, showing a grin that didn't look human at all. It was the kind of smile that made people uneasy, like something was seriously off about him. Suddenly, he remembers what happened in the classroom. The images hit him all at once. Blood on the floor, people screaming, total chaos everywhere. It's like his mind can't escape what he saw, and the memory just won't let go. He can still picture the way this guy handled the security guards. The tactical squad started shooting, aiming to take everyone out. He remembered seeing a prisoner's head burst, blood splattering everywhere. The tower was still standing, and somehow, he managed to outsmart the people who were trying to take him down. He remembers the prisoner's creepy smile, blood all over his teeth, and wonders why the guard didn't show any respect. Things got serious fast. If they were showing up with guns to class, everything changed. He managed to clamp his teeth around the barrel of a rifle. It was the kind of thing most people wouldn't even try, but somehow, he pulled it off. He gripped the weapon between his teeth, getting ready to strike back with more strength than anyone would expect from a regular guy. 1 second, everything in the classroom was normal. The next, chaos broke out as people started fighting and things turned violent fast. He grabbed their weapon and turned it on them, taking out the whole squad in one swift move. The memory hits Dante hard and he drops to his knees. His whole body shakes and fear runs through him. He looks up at the monster standing right in front of him, confused and trying to figure out why it's after him. The tower doesn't waste time with fancy explanations. It just makes it clear that the lesson isn't over yet. He doesn't care about sweet potatoes anymore. This time, he's looking for something real to learn. The tower loomed overhead, looking almost smug as it showed off 3 bright blue orbs. These orbs were obviously important, like the main thing everyone was supposed to pay attention to today. The other prisoners suddenly lose it. Their eyes start to glow, and they all start chanting the word fog over and over, getting louder and more intense with each second. The whole place gets chaotic, like everyone's been waiting for this moment to freak out. Dante just stands there, not really sure what's going on, while the other prisoners get hyped over this weird, glowing stuff. He's totally out of it, watching everyone else act like it's something amazing, but he can't figure out why. Right then, something from the past pops into the teacher's head. He thinks back to when his cellmate acted weird and got all pushy with him in the classroom. He finally realizes that the word fog is talking about these strange, pulsing blue lumps. He wonders what it is, but the tower looks surprised that he doesn't know. The monster snatches him up, clearly annoyed that a science teacher doesn't have a clue about what's going on. Dante starts talking fast, clearly thrown off by what he just saw. He keeps saying this is totally new to him, nothing he's ever come across in any of his classes. Even for all the stuff he studied, this one is completely out of left field. Turns out, the tower shows that all 6 of them only got together to hear what he knew about the fog. The truth hit him hard. They hadn't just stumbled across him by accident. They went out of their way to bring him to this exact spot. The tower doesn't seem to care that he's confused. It just grabs him by his jumpsuit and moves on. He pushes the glowing orb closer to Dante's face, figuring it's time to get things started. He just stands there frozen, staring at the weird, throbbing thing in front of him. His head goes empty, like he can't even think straight. It's like every nerve is on edge and he can't move or look away. The lesson kicks off in a rough way, with the orb getting pushed into his mouth even though he's clenching his teeth. The other prisoners stare, their eyes empty and locked onto the scene, mouths open and drool sliding down their chins. They look almost inhuman, like they haven't seen anything this interesting in forever. Dante, running out of options, pushes the giant with everything he's got. The orbs slip out of control, scattering through the air. The glowing orbs rolled across the floor, grabbing everyone's attention. Suddenly, the whole Chow Hall went quiet, and all eyes were locked on the strange lights. All eyes in the room, glowing with that weird light, turned straight to him. He realized he'd messed up this time. An old prisoner stared down through the thick fog, his face empty and tired. He'd been here so long, it was like all the hope had drained right out of him. Looking out, he seemed completely lost, weighed down by everything he'd been through. The prisoners rushed forward, each one pushing and shoving to grab the orbs that had just dropped to the ground. Everyone wanted to get their hands on one first, not really caring about anyone else in the chaos. It got messy fast, with some guys almost tripping over each other just to reach the glowing orbs before they disappeared. Dante stands frozen, his eyes wide as it hits him just how badly he's messed up. He can't do anything but watch, regret sinking in as the consequences unfold right in front of him. The chow hall suddenly turns into chaos as everyone scrambles and fights over the last bit of food. Tables get shoved, trays clatter to the floor, and nobody seems to care about anything except grabbing what they can. It's loud and messy, with guys pushing past each other, all desperate not to miss out. The tower lets everyone know that around here, people actually want the fog. To him, it's like something out of a legend. This stuff is rare, even more precious than gold. An old guy actually gets a piece down, and right away, everyone around him snaps. The whole crowd suddenly starts glaring, clearly mad that he got ahead of them. The old man stays on his feet, and something weird happens. Blue energy starts to shine from him. The other prisoners, desperate to survive, turn on him. They close in fast, grabbing at him from all sides. Panic sets in as he tries to fight them off, but there are too many hands and not enough space. In the chaos, he's overwhelmed, pulled down by the crowd as they all scramble to take what they can. They tear at his skin, desperate to get at the strange fog that's become a part of him now. Even with all the chaos around him, the old man looks completely calm, almost happy. It's like nothing can bother him, even in a place this wild. The prisoner with long hair sat there, grinning like he was enjoying the mess around him. While everyone else was freaking out, he just watched, looking almost entertained by how wild things had gotten. He tells them that the more fog someone has, the stronger they get. Like, seriously strong, almost on another level. The tower's mouth lights up with a blue glow, catching Dante's attention and making him wonder what's going on. Dante's teeth started to chatter as that same blue energy spread through his body. His body couldn't handle whatever he just took, and it hit him hard. He dropped to the floor, throwing up right there, his stomach twisting as he tried to catch his breath. He sits there completely crushed, tears streaming down his face. All he wants now is to go home. The tower stands tall above him, not caring at all about how much he wants to get out. Dante really loses it for a second. He's frustrated and lets it out, thinking about how he's just a regular teacher and not some genius who can invent crazy things like this. The whole situation feels unfair, and he's clearly overwhelmed, wondering how he got caught up in something way over his head. The guy with the long hair tries to make his point, using a TV show as proof. Not exactly the most convincing backup. Dante loses his cool. He can't hold it in anymore and just lets it out, reminding everyone he's just a regular high school teacher, not some genius. The prisoner with long hair stands over him, looking like he's had enough. You can tell he's reached his limit, and whatever patience he had is gone now. He doesn't waste time listening to Dante's explanations, just gets straight to the point and questions whether Dante actually knows what he's doing. His hopes fall apart. He really believed that finding the teacher would be his way to finally become the top guy. He loses it and grabs the blade, its surface swirling with strange fog. Without thinking, he pushes it down his own throat, his face twisted with anger. Blue energy started pouring out of his mouth as he took in the weird power. He yanked the weapon out, already thinking Dante was a total waste of time. Those harsh words hit him hard, bringing back an old memory when someone called him worthless. He thinks back to his parents and how they used to look at him, their eyes always showing that he wasn't living up to their expectations in school. His family gave him a hard time, saying he was embarrassing them by choosing to be a teacher. To them, teaching was something only poor people did, and they couldn't understand why he'd picked that path. A younger Dante looks up, wondering to himself why being a teacher would be such a bad thing. His mind flashes back to his family, sitting around and talking about how he's messed up school for the last 6 years, barely showing any concern. He can't shake off what they said. It just keeps replaying in his head, almost like a warning not to step out of line. Everyone knew his dad. People all over looked up to him and talked about the things he'd done. His mom was super smart, with a law degree and all that. His brother was already making waves, leading the pack in his field while still young. It was like everyone in the family was used to winning. Back in his own classroom, Dante stood out. The other teachers and students looked up to him, and it was clear he had their respect. At home, he didn't matter. He always ended up on his knees, stuck facing his family's harsh looks and silent criticism. He remembers sitting at the dinner table, barely anyone saying a word. The silence felt heavy, making it hard for him to even look up from his plate. His dad wasn't sure about the weird job offer that came from some prison overseas. His brother had laid it all out, looking pretty pleased with himself. He'd landed a teaching job with the UN, and the pay was seriously good. His brother got super excited, saying was basically the perfect spot for people who were a little wild or different. Even then, Dante reacted just like before. He knew there were people living there, so nothing really changed for him. His mom didn't really get why he needed to go that far. She just couldn't understand what was so important about it. His dad stood there, looking as intimidating as ever, staring him down and wanting an explanation. Dante started to sweat, totally confused about why everyone was so against the idea. He just stood there, not really sure what to do or say next. He wanted others to understand that letting people learn was important to him. He believed giving everyone a shot to figure things out was the right thing to do. His brother ended up spitting out his drink, barely holding back a laugh. He tried to laugh it off, pretending it was just a joke when he knocked over his drink and said sorry like he didn't really mean it. That was just how his family was, never missing a chance to poke fun, even when someone messed up. But then his smile faded, and he switched to a serious look, calling him out for not acting professional. His brother could tell exactly what he was up to and didn't hold back back, pointing out how desperate he was to get noticed. His brother calls him out, saying he's just pretending to do something big so he can look cool and feel like he matters. He thinks Dante is just making weird moves to cover up the fact that he doesn't really know what he's doing. Dante just stands there, listening as his brother pretends to care about what he did. Even though his brother tries to act all worried, Dante knows he's just putting on a show. He keeps quiet, not really sure what to say, and just lets his brother talk. His dad interrupts, brushing off his ideas as nothing more than reckless insecurity. He figured that doing something just because of those feelings would only show how clueless he really was. Thinking back, Dante kind of gets where they're coming from. Their harsh words actually make sense to him now. He finally faces it. His brother had been right the whole time. It stings to admit it, but deep down, he knows there's no point fighting it anymore. The memory fades, and suddenly, Dante snaps back to reality. He's yelling at himself, frustrated and embarrassed for messing up. The long-haired prisoner steps forward, ready to deal out the consequences for that bad decision. Dante gets knocked back hard, hitting the ground with the kind of force that makes everything spin. For a second, he really thinks this might be it for him, like he's finally reached the end of his line. The guy's attacker kept yelling, his voice bouncing off the walls and filling the whole place with angry words. He clearly hated being stuck somewhere like this. He kept going, thinking everything would have been different if he just learned more. In his mind, his bad luck all came down to not knowing enough. It was Dante's voice, sounding like he finally understood that he'd been the one messing up from the start. Right when the blade comes down, a regular fork shows up out of nowhere and stops it. Blood dripped down the fork, its metal prongs still solid after the fight. The long-haired prisoner charged in, but his cellmate reacted fast, landing a heavy hit that sent the guy sprawling across the cell. He grabs the guy and smashes his head hard against the concrete pillar. Dante stands there, blood all over him, and he can't do anything but watch while his cellmate steps up and takes charge. The long-haired prisoner lets out a desperate yell, watching his attacker get ready to strike him one last time. He gets fired up, wondering how his opponent could be this strong, just as a hand grabs his face. His cellmate's arm suddenly shifts, turning into a mess of dark, snake-like whips that lash out in every direction. The long-haired prisoner's eyes go wide with pain. Even though he's got power, it's no help to him now. Dante stands frozen, his face streaked with blood, eyes wide as he watches everything unfold. He can't look away, even though every part of him wants to. Panic settles in, and his mind races, trying to process what he's seeing. The masked prisoner hit the ground, his eyes glowing as he stared at the guy he'd just beaten. The chow hall looks wrecked, blood all over the place and bodies everywhere. It's hard to tell where the chaos started, but now, what used to be a spot for grabbing food is just a mess. Nothing left except silence and the aftermath of what went down. His cellmate stood there, towering over the mess on the floor. The guy's back was covered with a huge tattoo, the kind you couldn't miss even if you tried. Somewhere else, a group of prisoners with eyes that almost seemed to glow started to gather, all hanging around their motorcycles. The group's leader showed up first. He was huge, easy to spot with that skull tattoo on his arm. He let everyone know they just rolled into Tofu Village. Yeah, Tofu Village, kind of a weird name, but that's where they were. Engines blared as the gang sped down the empty prison roads, the sound echoing off crumbling walls. Tires kicked up dust behind them, leaving the place even quieter than before. They head further into the city, swallowed up by the thick fog that never seems to end. Dante and his cellmate step away from the mess behind them. Something's changed between them, like they're not just stuck together anymore, they're actually starting to team up. Dante and the others haul heavy sacks, and Dante can barely handle his. He wonders what could be packed inside that makes it so hard to carry. Dante finally decided to ask what the guy's name was, but the answer he got was weird and kind of creepy. The guy just called himself One Arm. Dante just stared, kind of thrown off by what his cellmate said. Apparently that was the only name the guy ever used. It was weird, but Dante could tell he wasn't joking. Dante thinks the name sounds weird and kind of rough, so he just calls the guy by his prisoner number. That feels easier and less awkward for him. He keeps going, his mind racing with thoughts about the mask, the stuff he's done, and how he landed himself in this mess. The prisoner's answer doesn't make much sense, but it's enough to send a cold shiver down anyone's spine. He just says he's always been there, like he's part of the place, and that thought just hangs in the air, making everyone uneasy. Dante just stood there, totally confused by what he'd just heard. It didn't make any sense, and his mind started racing, trying to figure out if he'd misunderstood or if this was actually real. His cellmate suddenly flips the situation, tossing a question back at the teacher and making him second-guess why he's even asking so many things in the first place. People always tell him he's too loud and never stops talking. Eventually, someone just tells him to be quiet. Maybe that's just how things work around here in Club. The sun blazes over the empty ruins of the prison city. Everything looks abandoned, with broken walls and dusty streets stretching as far as you can see. There's not a single sign of life, just the heat and the silence hanging in the air. Dante stopped walking, his dress shoes pressing down on the rough, broken concrete. He drops to the ground, totally wiped out and clutching his stomach, letting everyone know he's starving. After walking around in circles for what felt like forever, seriously, 2 whole hours, he couldn't help but wonder just how much farther the exit was. His legs were starting to ache, and he was getting pretty tired of seeing the same stuff over and over. The whole thing was getting old fast, and he just wanted to get out already. His guide just shrugs, admitting he's clueless about where they're headed. Dante loses it. He can't believe they've just been walking around with no real plan the whole time, and it's really getting to him. He starts freaking out, making a huge scene until someone gives him food or carries him on their back. If that doesn't work, he'll try to get his way by threatening to spill secrets. His cellmate just drops to the floor too, not holding back at all. Dante just stands there, totally confused by what's happening. The way everyone suddenly comes together doesn't make any sense to him, and he can't figure out why they're all acting like this. He gets down on his hands and knees and moves closer, trying to figure out what his so-called guide is up to. He blurts out his cellmate's number, his voice shaky and tense, as a sudden wave of panic hits him. Dante doesn't even notice how tired he is anymore. All of a sudden, his face changes, and he looks seriously worried. The prisoner's eyes go wide with pain, barely holding back a tear that slips out from under his mask. He grabs the man's shoulders and starts shaking him, hoping he'll wake up or at least move. Dante looks around at the empty ruins. The quiet hangs in the air, making everything feel even more lonely. He leans in close, his words coming out soft, hoping the person lying there won't slip away and leave him by himself. He gets more and more desperate, his heart pounding as he shakes his guide, hoping he'll wake up. It's like every second drags on, and he can't help but panic as nothing seems to work. The guy yells, and out of nowhere, this little winged creature pops right out of his chest. Right then, something huge and dark crashes down in front of him. It's this massive, shadowy creature, blocking his way and making everything around him feel tense. Dante's lips curl into a small, relieved smile, even though most people would be freaking out right now. It's like something heavy just got lifted off his shoulders, and for once he actually looks calm. Someone new steps out from the darkness, moving quietly toward the teacher who's clearly scared. The person's hand reaches out, and everyone's attention locks onto what might happen next. Tension fills the room, and it's like time slows down as people watch, holding their breath. Dante suddenly comes back to his senses. The relief he just felt is gone, and now he's just plain confused, trying to figure out what's going on. The stranger reaches out and lightly touches Dante's face, pausing for a second as if checking something. He seems a bit surprised, almost like he expected Dante to be different, but it turns out Dante just comes across like any regular guy. Dante stands there totally lost, his words barely coming out as he tries to apologize. He looks awkward, his mind racing for something better to say, but nothing really comes. The man shows up with a smile, letting everyone know he heard all the noise and wanted to check if everything was okay. The scene moves over to a rough, messy kitchen that looks like someone threw it together just to survive. It's not much, but in the middle of all the wreckage, it feels almost normal, like a little spot where people are still hanging on. Dante leans forward over his bowl, finally grabbing some food. He rips off a chunk of bread and starts eating, like he hasn't had a real meal in a while. He hears someone call him out for eating too quickly, sounding just like a parent would. The guy looked around at his new hosts, a dude with spiky hair and another one with bright blue hair. They seemed pretty chill and let him know there was still more to come. Dante feels really grateful and thinks these guys might actually be normal for once. It hits him that maybe, just maybe, he's finally found people he can trust. The guy with spiky hair stepped up and said his name was. He also pointed out his friend Lychee, standing nearby. Dante finally gets to say who he is, and he's honestly just glad things are chill for once. He's caught off guard when he spots a woman in the middle of all the prisoners. Rambutan messes around with Dante's idea, not really giving him a straight answer. Dante ends up scratching his head, not sure what to think anymore. They cut her hair short so she wouldn't draw too much attention in a place like Tofu Village. She just wanted to blend in and not have people staring at her. Rambutan explains that they showed up from deep within, somewhere past the usual prison walls where everything's kind of falling apart. He wonders if the center is just for regular people, but then finds out it's actually a place where outsiders and misfits end up, kind of like a Tofu Village for outcasts. Rambutan brought up the fog, curious if Dante had just started noticing it. Dante finally sets things straight and lets everyone know he isn't really an inmate. He couldn't hide it anymore, the truth came out. He'd been kidnapped, and just thinking about it made his chest tighten. Dante tells the group how the guy lying on the bed was actually the one who kidnapped him. Stood there trying to wrap his head around what just happened. Getting snatched and dropped into a place like made zero sense to him. None of it added up, and he kept turning it over in his mind, wondering why he of all people had to end up here. They finally realized what was going on. He wasn't just caught up in the mess. He was the one the kidnappers were after all along. The guy stands there totally confused, wondering how anyone could know about that. It's like his brain just blanked for a second, and he can't figure out what's going on. Rambutan lets everyone know that the enforcers had planned this all along, just so they could grab the lesson for themselves. He can't believe he's actually meeting the main guy everyone's been talking about. Still, he keeps his cool and quietly tries tries to figure out if Dante is some kind of spy. Lychee speaks up, pointing out how his cellmate just doesn't give off the vibe of someone who works as an enforcer. So Dante finally lets everyone know why he was taken. Turns out, it's not some wild, dramatic reason. He just got dragged into a lesson about growing sweet potatoes. His new friends can't help it. They just crack up, laughing so hard they nearly lose their breath. The whole situation is just too much, and they all end up clutching their sides, shaking their heads at how wild things have gotten. Dante wipes his face, trying to pull off a smile even though he's still crying. Deep down, he's just glad there are still people around who actually care. Steps in and signals Rambutan to chill out, noticing that Dante's eyes are starting to tear up from all the laughter. Rambutan wondered if he was being held prisoner, but Dante let him know he was just tagging along with someone acting as his bodyguard, nothing official. He tells them his guide didn't come after him or anything. He just suddenly dropped to the ground, probably because of the heat. Steps in and tells him what's really going on, calling it limbo. Hearing that name makes him tense up, like the air just got colder. She lets him know it's just withdrawal, the kind you get when you've been around the fog for too long and suddenly it's gone. In this place, the fog is what keeps everything running, and now his body is already missing it. She makes him think of those people he's seen on the streets, just sitting there completely out of it. They all got hit by the same thing. If they keep pulling away like this over and over, their minds will slowly break down until there's nothing left. Even though they can bounce back at first, doing it too much just wears them out in the end. Dante can't stop thinking about what happened during the Chow Hall riot. The whole thing keeps replaying in his head, but there's one thing he just can't shake, the weird fog that showed up out of nowhere. He keeps turning it over in his mind, trying to figure out what it is, and why it's still bothering him long after the chaos has ended. His new friends just stare at him, totally silent. They can't believe what he doesn't know. He really stands out here, looking lost while everyone else is in on it. Dante's face says it all. He really has no clue about the mess he's gotten himself into. Rambutan tells the group that fog isn't just some weird weather. It's actually a special medicine from the gods. Anyone who gets it can unlock hidden talents. Sometimes it unlocks something special inside, or hands you the kind of power you've always wanted. Dante couldn't help but wonder if it was really possible, but Rambutan seemed dead set on the idea. According to him, this was the kind of thing that could push someone past what normal people could do. He and Lychee stood side by side, both determined to use their new power to get out of there. Dante just stands there, frozen. For a second, his mind blanks out as the news sinks in. Suddenly, getting out isn't just some wild idea anymore. It actually seems possible. Somewhere else, a new guy stood in the dark. His back was huge, covered in a bold tattoo that caught the dim light. He steps into the empty cell, his shadow stretching over the cold floor. The whole place feels even lonelier with him standing there, like his presence is the only thing breaking the silence. He thought to himself, pretty sure his target was still close by. He checks his plan, pretty sure the teacher hasn't slipped away yet. Somewhere else in the prison, the Bone Eater loomed over what was left of its newest victim. Things in this place were getting worse, and even the toughest guys were starting to think twice about wandering around alone. Rambutan started telling the story about Tofu Village. He said that the place was controlled by 3 scary bosses, and the first one everyone talked about was called Nunface. The second one is this massive guy everyone calls Fuzzyback. He's in charge of the prison's crows, and people know not to mess with him. The third one is the kind of guy everyone knows to stay away from. He leads the outcasts and always looks intense, like he's ready to start trouble at any moment. Everyone in Tofu Village knew these 3. They ran the place, making their own rules in a spot where no one else bothered to. If anything happened in the village, it usually had something to do with them. Rambutan and Lychee aren't just sitting around. They've cooked up a plan, hoping to use the fog to pull off their escape. The idea of escape suddenly hits Dante hard. He never really thought that was even possible before. His new friends finally let him in on what they're really about. They give him a chance to join them, making it clear he doesn't have to keep struggling alone anymore. This could be the way out he's been hoping for. Just when things start to look up, his thoughts start racing again. He says no thanks, sticking to what he thinks is right. As a regular guy now, he just wants to track down the guards first. He's still got that honest by-the-book attitude. He understands that if he helps the prisoners get out, he'd basically become a criminal himself. That's not something he's willing to risk right now. Rambutan lays out what happens if someone messes up. If you fail, you don't just get a slap on the wrist. You're gone for good, no second chances. It's the kind of thing that makes everyone pay attention, knowing the risk is real and there's no coming back. Dante listens closely, realizing that if their escape plan doesn't work, he'll just be gone, like he never even existed. Nobody from the outside, not even the police, would bother searching for them. It finally hits him. Isn't just some place people ignore. It's somewhere everyone has decided doesn't exist at all. Lychee lets him know about the danger of fog addiction, explaining that anyone who messes up could end up trapped by it. Dante's heart starts racing. He keeps telling himself he'd never mess with that stuff. He's sure it can't do anything to him anyway. Still, he can almost reach what he wants, but it feels just out of reach. Rambutan points out that this isn't really something you get to decide. He brings up the air, hinting that there's something different about it, almost like it's a warning or a sign that things aren't normal. He finally lets everyone know what's really going on. The city isn't just covered in regular fog. The mist hanging in the air is actually made up of strange particles. Dante stands there, frozen, as it hits him. He's been breathing in the drug the whole time without even knowing it. Everything around him suddenly feels different, like the ground isn't steady anymore. His mind races, trying to piece together what just happened and what it means for him now. The fog hung heavy in the air, slipping into his lungs with every breath. That same fog was the source of all the wild abilities people talked about. Rambutan laid it out straight. If you wanted to show off some real talent, you'd need way more fog than most people even realize. He explains that getting addicted is actually pretty simple. Just breathing in the stuff floating around is enough to get someone stuck on it. Every time he breathed in, the stuff slid deeper into his lungs, settling inside him like it belonged there. It's the kind of craving that just won't let go, always there in the back of people's minds, making them restless and pushing them to the edge. He could never get enough. The more fog he took in, the more he wanted. Dante's eyes widen as the truth sinks in. His hand shoots up to cover his mouth, and his whole body just freezes. He barely breathes, standing there as the weight of what's just happened crashes over him. Lets him know that if he doesn't keep up with what he needs, things will go downhill fast, and he'll end up stuck, not really moving forward or back. Dante's voice shakes when he finally asks the big question that's been on his mind. He can't help but wonder if he's already hooked. The thought hits him hard, leaving him uneasy as he waits for an answer. You can see it just by looking at him. He knows he's in deep trouble now. Dante's mind races as he tries to convince himself he's still got a shot. He keeps searching for any reason things might still work out, clinging to any hope he can find. Lets him know that limbo isn't the end. Things are about to get way worse from here. He reminds everyone that even though some people can handle things longer than others, time is running out for all of them. Dante's voice wavers as he wonders if getting out is even an option now that everyone's hooked. Lychee doesn't sugarcoat it at all. He just lays it out straight, making it clear to everyone that things are really not looking good for them right now. Nobody had ever made it out of this place alive, at least according to her. That was just the kind of news no one wanted to hear, especially now. Dante tries to stay calm and think things through. He hopes that if people find out what's really going on, someone smart might come up with a cure. Logic is his anchor right now, and he hangs on to the idea that there's a way out if the truth comes to light. Rambutan and Lychee catch each other's eyes for a second. It's a quiet reminder of the promise they made, something only the two of them know about. He pictured what life could be like if they made it. Days where he could just chill, no one telling him what to do, just hanging out under the open sky. It felt good to imagine that kind of freedom with nothing holding him back. Dante just stands there looking at them. It hits him that what they have is real, both their connection and the hope they share. Both of them hold on to their dream of getting away, and right now, it actually feels real, like something they can almost reach out and grab. From under the bed, two glowing eyes stared out, watching everything that was happening. Dante freezes when it hits him that other people heard what they were saying. His stomach drops, and he glances around, hoping no one caught the whole thing. It's one of those moments where he wishes he could just disappear. His new friends stop in their tracks. The excitement on their faces disappears, and suddenly they all look scared. The masked prisoner pushes himself upright, making the whole room go quiet. Everyone can feel the tension as he sits there, not saying a word. Dante's thoughts start spinning as he notices his sweet potato deal just went out the window. He thinks about what to do next, unsure if this creature might get mad at them for trying to leave. Suddenly, his mind jumps to a moment he'd rather forget. He remembers exactly how dangerous this guy can get. The prisoner gets up from the bed, moving carefully, like he's making sure not to draw too much attention. Instead of starting a fight or anything, he just lifts up a sweet potato, checking if it's cool to leave now. Guess that's what's on his mind. Lychee spots Dante and can tell right away that something's seriously wrong. Dante looks frozen, his eyes wide and his whole body tense, like he's just seen something that completely rattled him. Lychee tries to get his attention, hoping to snap him out of it. She just looks at him, totally relaxed, not really getting why he's so nervous. She doesn't realize the guy in front of them is a much bigger deal than she thinks. Barely glances at the prisoner, not seeing any real threat. He figures the guy's just another fog zombie, out of it and waiting for his next hit, so there's no point wasting time on him. Dante relaxes a little and steps up, ready to take care of things on his own. He wants to look out for his new friends and make sure they're safe. Out of nowhere, the prisoner's arm swelled up, showing off a strength that looked totally unreal and honestly pretty scary. He reached out and grabbed by the throat, holding him tight like it was no big deal. It almost seemed like he was deciding right then and there if he should end things for not even breaking a sweat. His eyes narrow, cold, and intense, almost like he's daring anyone to test him. There's no need for words. Just by looking at him, you can tell he's ready to throw down if it comes to that. Just stands there, staring. He's totally thrown off. All that confidence he had is gone after seeing that kind of power right in front of him. Dante notices that his new friend's seriously messed up. He bursts into the room, grabs his cellmate's arm, and tries to get him to stop whatever he's doing, looking pretty desperate. Dante steps in fast, making it clear to his cellmate that things don't have to get violent. Once everything calmed down, he let everyone know he was heading out. He lets his cellmate know that their team-up is done, and it's time for both of them to go their separate ways. The prisoner can't stop thinking about that sweet potato lesson everyone else seems to have forgotten. Of all the things to worry about right now, that's the only thing on his mind. Dante notices his chance and grabs the sweet potato right out of his hand. He tells Lychee to grab a cup and fill it with water, getting ready to wrap up his last lesson. He drops the vegetable into the water, acting like he knows exactly what he's doing, kind of like a teacher showing off in front of the class. He goes over the steps in an easy way, making sure to mention that it needs a lot of sunlight. Dante gave his cellmate a quick pat on the back, letting him know it was time to head out with his new buddy. The prisoner shrugged, looking just as lost as Dante. Neither of them had a clue which way to go. Dante starts to freak out, waving at Rambutan and trying to get his attention. He really wants Rambutan to deal with his cellmate fast, so he can jump in and they can all make their escape together. Lychee and Rambutan lock eyes, both knowing what they have to do. They're not backing down no matter what's coming at them. Together, they're set to take on whatever shows up next. While everything was going wild, the sweet potato and the glass of water ended up getting knocked off and hit the floor. The classroom sits empty now, water slowly creeping across the cracked floor. Rambutan's knees buckle out of nowhere, and he drops forward, hitting the cold concrete with hardly any warning. He slowly lifts his head. There's no sign of pain on his face, just a calm look, like he's thinking things over in his own way. The camera stays focused on the sweet potato lying on the ground, looking kind of sad and out of place in the middle of everything. A sharp blue light flashes in Rambutan's eye, showing the strange power of the fog. Suddenly, he remembers a moment from before, just him and Lychee sitting together, both staring at an old TV screen full of static. Lychee lets everyone know that cats and dogs are animals, just like the crows they spot around all the time. She thinks they're these soft, cute animals that actually listen and show up when you call them. A younger Rambutan sits nearby, paying close attention. Deep down, he really hopes that someday he'll get to have his own puppy. He thinks about having one for himself one day, planning to get it when he finally makes it out into the world. Right now, he bends down to pick up the sweet potato that slipped from his hand. It's just a simple thing, but it reminds him of how his dreams have gotten smaller over time. He quietly calls for the vegetable, expecting it to move toward him like it's a well-trained pet. Somewhere else, someone holds up a ruler and lines it up carefully, seeing that it measures exactly 20 centimeters. The two new guys check the numbers again, not really believing what they saw. Rambutan's power had actually pulled it off, and they couldn't help but be surprised it was for real. They were caught up in their experiment when something nearby grabbed their attention. A person, beat up and barely moving, lying on the ground. A huge monster stands there, lifting up a lifeless body for everyone to see. It's a messed up warning for anyone thinking about running away. Whoever's in charge of keeping order here definitely isn't messing around.
Lately, I've had a strong addiction to watching manhwa and manga recap videos. Every single day, I find myself binging one after another, losing hours and days doing absolutely nothing productive. And honestly, it's getting out of hand. So, maybe we can make these viral videos too. I mean, look at the views, the growth, the community these creators are building. It looks simple, right? But that's a trap. You go down this endless rabbit hole, spending money, losing sleep, hiring editors and writers from Fiverr and Upwork, and still feel like you've been robbed. Because don't forget how emotional the YouTube algorithm can be with making videos go viral. It's unpredictable, especially when the market's saturated, competition's relentless, and somehow other creators are dropping 10-hour videos daily while you're stuck trying to finish one. That's when I realized something had to change. So, I built the solution, the Web2 Narrative Suite, a complete one-click system that handles everything from cropping, script narration, text-to-speech, image processing, and full video generation in one smooth process. Save money, reduce hours of work, and have a tool that only gives you straight results. Click on the link down below and experience it for yourself. And if you want even more tools to supercharge your YouTube recap journey, visit my Ko-Fi and Patreon pages where I drop weekly new tools designed to keep you ahead as AI continues to steal our jobs. So tap in now before you get left behind.